This video I want to take a look at something that a lot of people struggle with, and that is the whole area of negotiation. How do you actually negotiate and negotiate successfully? That is what I'm going to look at in this video. Okay, a lot of people see negotiation as something dirty or haggling as something that's beneath them. That's a big, big mistake. We've all negotiated since we were kids. We've negotiated with parents, with family members, with girlfriends, boyfriends, with teachers, with people to get jobs and get pay rises and to get days off and so on. So we've negotiated all our lives. It's very, very useful though, very, very useful skill to develop and to be actually good at. There's a number of just basic fundamental principles which you need to be a good negotiator. But there's one that's absolutely critical. So, 4 things which are going to help you to negotiate anything and do so well. The first one is detachment. You need to be able to walk away from a deal. The very, very strongest position you can adopt in any negotiation is the ability to convey that you can walk away. In other words, you can take this deal or not. So, if you're buying a car or buying a house, you don't go in and say, I absolutely adore this car or adore this house and I want it. No, you give the impression that, yeah, you can do a deal, but there are other houses. You're looking at other houses. There's another house down the road that you're interested in. You like the south-facing back garden or whatever. But the bottom line is, you like this house, you'd like to do a deal, but it's not the end of the world. In other words, you really care about it. You want to do a deal, but it's not the end of the world. How do you do this? You actually project forward 20 years. And in 20 years' time, you look back, or you pretend you're 20 years forward. You look back and you see how consequential or how significant this particular deal is. And if it's for a motor car, or if it's for a suit, or if it's for whatever, then you might say, well, you know, that's just a pimple on the face of life, as it were. So you persuade yourself first that, yeah, you want to do a deal, but it's not the end of the world if you don't do a deal and you're prepared to walk. As long as the other side sees that you're prepared to walk, you're in a very, very strong position. When you're walking as well, if you have come to an impasse in relation to price or anything else, and the guy follows you out or the girl follows you out who's trying to sell you perhaps a car, perhaps it's an estate agent, perhaps it's a house, and they say, here's my card, give me a call if you change your mind. Don't take the card. You give them your card and say, here's my card. You give me a call if you change your mind about the price. But the key point is, and the most significant skill, the most significant attitude to adopt when you're negotiating is one of indifference, one that, yeah, I can walk away. I negotiate a lot. Have been negotiating since way back, buying property, buying cars, and now I'm negotiating in legal cases, employment claims, litigation, family law, separation agreements, divorce, personal injury claims, and so on. But the bottom line is that I will always try to avoid giving the impression that I really want a deal, because if I do, I'm absolutely screwed. I need to give the impression that I can walk away, I can do this deal or not, and that way I do the best I can for my client. Second thing you need to be, the second tip I give you when it comes to negotiation is try to maximize the other party's investment in you. This investment will be time, basically. So you're going to be negotiating, you're going to be haggling, you're going to be meeting the other person. But say it's a motor car. The guy needs to sell the motor car, okay? He spends a lot of time with you, but you then are in two minds. You can't come to an agreement, you haven't come to an agreement, there's no deal, price isn't right, or whatever. You need to try to get the person, the seller, to invest as much time as possible in you. Why? Because the more that they invest in you, particularly in terms of time, the more desirable it becomes for them to do a deal with you, because they've sunk so much time, so much cost into you, that if you walk away off that forecourt without buying the car, then they're kind of screwed and they could be under pressure to sell the car. You, on the other hand, can A, buy a car, B, not buy a car, C, buy this car somewhere else, or decide, screw it, I'm going to go on holidays. But you're not under as much pressure, and that's where the detachment comes back. In other words, you like the car, okay, you want to do a deal, but you're not desperate. The more time and energy the car salesperson puts into selling you the car, the more desperate they are for a deal. So again, that's balance of power shift or switch. It's going to help you. So be careful to ensure A, you can be detached and you can walk away, and B, if the other person invests a lot of time in negotiating with you, you're in a stronger position because they've so much invested in you that the desired outcome that they want becomes even more desirable. They really need the deal. The third tip that I give you when it comes to negotiation is your attitude, your demeanour. I would recommend that you don't go in tough guy. Don't go in saying, I'm going to wipe the floor with this guy and I'm going to lay down all sorts of ultimatums and so on and so forth. And if you don't do this, we're not going to do a deal. No. I would recommend that you actually go in nice and friendly and cooperative, even with an air of bumbling incompetence. Like, do you remember Columbo, the private detective that was on the TV years ago? You mightn't remember because you may be young, but Columbo was a TV detective series. He was kind of bumbling, but he always actually got the bad guy. He always solved the mystery. That's the sort of attitude you want to adopt, and you want to be friendly and cooperative. Why? Because if you go in hard guy at the outset, it's practically impossible to revert or to change or to adopt a different position from hard guy to friendly. You have no credibility. Whereas if you go in nice and friendly at the outset, well then go on hard guy if the shit hits the fan basically and negotiations get really tough, then you can become firm, you can become hard. It's just more credible. Finally, the fourth thing I would recommend or tell you to bear in mind when it comes to negotiation is about deadlines. Deadlines are deadlines, and they may seem like, life or death, but the bottom line is the deadline has been fixed by some form of negotiation, and the likelihood is it can be negotiated again. One way to do this is that if a deadline has been reached and has passed and the other side say, screw this, we can't do a deal with you, they get up and they walk away, you can say to them, look, now that it's over, tell me where I went wrong. What's the problem? And they will then, or may well say, look, we'll tell you when it's over. In other words, it's not over. It's an opportunity to negotiate a new deadline. So every deadline that passes is really an opportunity to negotiate a new deadline or take a different approach. It's never over unless relationships have completely broken down and there's no contact. As long as there's contact, there can be new negotiations or a new deadline. These are my tips for negotiation. The most important one, and if you take one thing from this video, it's this: if you want to buy a car or want to buy a house, but want to buy anything, do not go in there and say, Jesus, I really love that car, or I really need this house. No, I'm looking around, I like your house, but there's another house down the road. It's got a south-facing rear garden, or it's got a big conservatory, or whatever. You need to give the impression that you can walk away, that you can do the deal, yeah, sure, but if not, it's not the end of the world, you can go on holidays. That is the number one key I would recommend that you adopt when you're negotiating with anybody about anything. You don't have to do the deal. You can actually walk away, because if the other party sees, Jesus, this fella can walk away, he will walk away, I really need to do a deal here, and he's invested time on you, that's tip number 2, well then the likelihood is you're going to be in a much, much stronger position and the power is with you. Hope you find this video useful. My name is Terry Gorey. I'm a solicitor in Enfield and County Meath. You might be interested in subscribing to my YouTube channel and give the video the thumbs up down below or whatever, wherever you watch it. Thanks.